Hello and welcome back to the Classically Chloe Show, where we talk about music and its effects on every aspect of our daily lives. I'm your host, Chloe Castillo, and joining us today is my dear friend, America's tenor, Christopher Macchio. Chris, welcome to the show. Great to have you on again.
Oh, it's a real pleasure to be back on.
So it's been a while. Last time I had you
I
on was actually
know.
the first time I talked to you. I believe it was November 6th of last year. It was the day after the election.
Wow, the day after the
And
election. My God,
yeah, that's right.
so much has
And
happened since then and now.
I know. And I remember I had you on, and I've talked to so many people, Chris. I mean, you know this, so many conservatives and people in the movement, out of the movement, whatever, about music and about its effects on culture and, yada, yada. And so many look at me like I'm crazy, look at me like, one in one ear out the other. I remember I had you on the show and you just started, talking about the same things I've been voicing for so long, so eloquently. And I was like, oh my gosh, who is this guy, and why is he not involved what I'm doing here? So I called you after that, and basically, long story short, said get on board here with Make Music Right. We've got to do something about the culture. So Chris is the vice president of our new organization, Make Music Right. He's also the co-founder, and so it's just so cool to have you back on here after all this time. So let's just kind of like recap what's been going on since we last talked.
Well, of course, the biggest turn of events is that our President Trump has been inaugurated. And because of that, all of us have an opportunity to effectuate some real change on the cultural landscape. When we spoke on November 6th, it wasn't really clear at that point what the level of receptivity was going to be, either with the new administration coming in or with the people on the ground, the rank and file Trump supporters, MAGA, GOP in general, and just across the electorate of the whole country. And so it's been really heartening, I think, for both of us to have had the opportunity to have conversations with people over the last 9 months, or 8 months and change, and to see how excited they are to play a role in pushing back against the vulgarity uh, that we're seeing all across the cultural landscape. Of course, most recently exemplified, as you mentioned earlier, by Bad Bunny having been chosen to perform the halftime show for the upcoming Super Bowl in February 2026. So it's just really, for me and for you, I think, been so encouraging that people are aware of this problem, not to the extent, not necessarily the full extent of it. In fact, even myself, you and I had the privilege of having our launch gala this past August with our headliner Lara Trump at Trump Westchester, and I think all of us were a little bit shocked when we really dug into what's out there in the mainstream, just how bad things have gotten. You're younger than I am, of course, and I remember when I was growing up in the late '80s, early '90s. The cultural shock was just the existence, the use of expletives, period. The fact that you would hear a four-letter word or any kind of sexual reference in a song was itself pretty shocking. And we've gone so much further down the drain in terms of the corrosion of our culture now over the last 20, 30 years that our research turned up some really, really uh, problematic and, to say the least, I mean, you've got ostensibly mainstream artists that are dressing up as the devil and simulating sex acts as part of their mainstream music videos. And I never thought that I would, with a straight face, utter a sentence like that and have it be 100% truthful. It's really just beyond belief. And so I think, now we have the opportunity to really make some changes. I think you've seen the Trump administration start to take a look, starting, of course, with our National Museum at the Smithsonian and all of its various installations, and looking at the nature of the content and what that content says about our values as Americans. And really, it's been, like I said, heartening to see the new administration taking a hands on approach with some of these things. And now it's our opportunity to play a significant role, I believe. And certain institutions like Turning Point have been really gracious and receptive to some of these ideas. And I really think that we have a bright future on the horizon with respect to restoring wholesomeness, decency, and a God fearing culture across this great nation.
Absolutely. And you know, you said God fearing, and that's something I bring up this quote all the time. It's John Adams. I've done it at least 5 times on my show alone. You know, where he says that our Constitution was made for a moral and religious people, and it's wholly inadequate to the government of any other. And I think we've become, as a society, that other he was referring to. And you know, it begs the question, well, what exactly is making our society turn in that direction to become what our founding fathers were saying would not work in the America that they founded? And I think that's the mainstream, you know, music industry, film, of course, as well. A lot of entertainment industry of today, and music being a huge part of that, is that, you know, we've turned away from God, we've turned away from our morals, we've turned away from just common decency, honestly. And you also said a minute ago how, you know, it used to be a shock when there was like, you know, a bad word in a song. And that's something I think people were kind of stuck on, especially conservatives. I talked to them, you know, oh, there's this song and that song that's, you know, really disturbing. And what do you think? And like, oh, well, here's a clean version. And it's like, well, you remove the bad word, but you still have the message. And so, you know, the profanity within itself isn't necessarily always the issue. And I think people are kind of used to seeking that out as being the only thing that they're against, I guess. Maybe also because, you know, when it comes to radio and whatnot, that was like, you know, you couldn't say certain words or what have you. But it's become, they've passed that up. Now it's more a matter of the overt, you know, leftist messaging in all of the music. And so, absolutely. This is, you know, what better time than when we do have our great president back in office to actually restore, like you said, decency, you know, a sense of elevation to the cult or the culture that, you know, we're living in. So, with that said, let's pull up a couple of these X posts. People were talking about Bad Bunny. This freak, Bad Bunny, has no business being on the halftime show. And as for my family, we will not be watching. He might be suitable for nighttime entertainment after the kids are in bed, but not during prime time. We're sick of the Democrats pushing filth on our families. And I will say, like, you know, with that said, we can take that down for a minute here. I think that, you know, the whole idea of, oh, well, just not for the kids, just keep the kids out, that's a good starting place maybe, but it's also a matter of what are you normalizing as adults in society, what are you normalizing as mainstream, because that will get to the kids. Whether you say, hey, you know, go to your room and close the door, we're going to watch this on TV now, like, you know, that's not normal. That's not how that's supposed to work. It used to be that nighttime television, you know, wasn't some weird cross-dressing rabbit demonic person. I mean, I don't even know you know, how to describe this. And I think that I've talked to conservatives too who say, "Oh, well, I only listen to the music because I enjoy the beat. It's fun, but I don't let my kids listen to it." And it's like, well, that's great, but you're normalizing that within the society that your kids are living in. So you basically are letting your kids listen to that. So, what are your thoughts, Chris, on
Absolutely.
the approach, I guess, from conservatives as far as, um, you know, what kind of filth we are allowing into the mainstream part of our society?
Well, it's evident to me that the approach and the attitude that conservatives have taken is wholly inadequate to the gravity of the situation. Number one, conservatives have forfeited the cultural space to the liberals, to the Marxists, to the leftists. And of course, these are all conflated now. There really is no such thing as your typical blue dog Democrat mansion in West Virginia is retiring. And all you have left are the AOCs of the world that are avowed socialists. And so this idea that somehow, you know, there's fear mongering to conflate the Democratic Party with Marxism and socialism, that is the reality that we're dealing with now. With respect to its effects, it's not just a matter of inculcating our children with the wrong values. Of course, that is first and foremost a tremendous concern. But the purposes of disseminating this kind of material is not limited to just corroding the values being imbued into our youth. That is, of course, a leftist Marxist investment in the future, and they've been very successful in in eroding our collective values through those means. But also, even with adults, people really fail sometimes to appreciate just how effectively this kind of messaging and this kind of desensitizing to brutality and vulgarity, this messaging can be effective in that regard, even with adults. You call it propaganda, call it brainwashing, but if you over and over again are presented with certain types of information, it does have a cumulative effect, even on the adult psyche. And even as a Republican who is based in Manhattan, in New York City, of course, I travel a lot, but I live in the city. And it's a daily battle to not be desensitized to the constant barrage of depravity. I was just a few hours ago walking through Union Square, and it's just wall to wall filth, third world filth. This is not a bunch of people in parasols walking around enjoying the water fountains. This is, people openly using drugs. This is people selling items and their wares illegally out in the open with no disruption from the police. And you get desensitized to these things over time, day after day, week after week, year after year. And the same dynamic holds true for this material and its cumulative effect, even on adults. And so I fully and wholeheartedly reject the idea that, well, I those kinds of casual dismissals. I like the beat. I enjoy, the vibe or whatever. Certainly, there is more than enough room and space and creativity on hand to to have those that kind of to tap into those aesthetics in a way that still maintains our values and is still considered wholesome and does not have this corrosive effect. Call it what you will, the war on beauty. There's all different phrases that have come now to the surface where people are starting to realize the dichotomy that continues to exist with greater and greater pronounced effect. This vulgarity versus elevation versus elegance, and really we cannot tolerate it any longer. There's really it's a five-alarm fire, and it's time that conservatives not only actively abstain from consuming this kind of caustic material, but also make the necessary financial and institutional investments in displacing it. Because we're not about overt censorship, we're not about yanking content from the airwaves. We're about fostering a discussion on how to make the necessary investments so that wonderful material that ennobles the human spirit can actually be funded and disseminated into the public forum and displace. It'll naturally, if given the choice between depravity and murder and Satan worship and well produced, wholesome content, I think the American public, even in a capitalist, deregulated, laissez faire society, will ultimately choose that material that ennobles us and gives us a positive feeling, makes us feel good about being human rather than making us feel like we've been reduced to beasts.
That's so well said, Chris. And this is why I wanted Chris on board here because he's very well spoken. But it's so true, and like it is disgusting. We've reduced ourselves to like the lowest level of depravity within our culture, and again, it's just it's not a matter of censorship. It's not a matter of you can't have this. It's more a matter of don't you expect as an American, don't you want something better? I mean, honestly, do we seriously want Sexy Red? I mean, I'm not going to repeat what I'm going to have to change my show so I can repeat this kind of stuff. But the kind of lyrics that she actually, spews out to America on the daily, it's depraved. It's disgusting. It's not even like, oh, wow, that's attractive, but it's bad. No, no, no. It's actually actively grotesque. And so, I mean, as
Right.
Americans, we're the greatest nation in the world. We're, the leaders of the free world. So exactly, why is this what we're holding? Why is this the standard we're holding ourselves to? We should be expecting something better from ourselves. So let's do a quick ad break, and we'll have more back from Chris in just a second.
When things go sideways, will you be ready? Meet the new Patriot Power Generator 1200, a solar generator that's lightweight with more capacity and more life cycles, and recharges twice as fast, all at a fraction of the price. In a blackout, power lights, TVs, medical equipment, even your fridge. No gas, fumes, or noise. It's safe to use inside your home. This is about peace of mind. To learn more about this amazing generator and get your free solar panel, go to Patriot TV Store and look for the solar generator banner.
What do a neurosurgeon, a country artist, and a television and radio host have in common? They all saw the writing on the wall. Big banks sharing your financial information with big government. Join them as owners in Old Glory Bank, the pro-America online bank that protects your privacy, security, and liberty. Invest today at own.oldglorybank.com.
Think you need a new roof? Think again. Roofs aren't made like they used to be. They have significantly less asphalt in them than they did 20 years ago. That's causing roofs to wear out way before they should. Roof Max can extend the life of your roof for at least 5 and up to 15 years, guaranteed. 9 out of 10 roofs qualify. Restore your roof at a fraction of the cost for a new roof. Mention Patriot TV and get their $859 roof tune-up for free. Call 1-800-ROOF-MAX. Great to have you back on here, Chris. Okay, so back to what we were talking about. What do we need to do again? And I know we've been talking about this for so long, but what can we do, as conservatives to support the growth of this kind of music? And I don't want to say industry. I guess it is an industry though, because we're up against a multi-billion-dollar industry currently being what the left has to offer when it comes to music. And so we're just starting out here. I mean, even Make Music Right, for example, we're a brand new organization. We're right out the starting gate. So in general, though, what can conservatives do? This is going to take a long time. And again, the conservatives kind of, I guess we fail to play the long game sometimes. We think, per election cycle. And the left, they're very much so aware of the power of culture and the power of music and the power of entertainment on the whole. And I think they really utilize that in their approach, when it comes to, I guess, capturing America or you're taking over America, for a Marxist agenda. So what can we do as conservatives to, I guess, recapture the essence of, what it means to be an American, what it means to actually hold those values dear again when it comes to the music culture?
Well, you know, as you just mentioned, I think that phrase that Breitbart coined, where culture flows down, politics flows downstream from culture. I think that that phrase needs to be drummed into the head of every single voter across this great land, and particularly conservatives, who again have been asleep at the wheel as far as culture goes. Um, I think that at the end of the day, folks have to put their money where their mouth is. It's going to take serious investment, whether it is having an effect on mainstream music distribution. It is going to require financial pressure. You saw that the most effective lever that President Trump and the new administration have been able to utilize thus far to effect change with respect to our higher learning institutions is financial. They have been subjected to confiscations and freezing of their funds, of their endowments, of government grants, and so forth. And to the extent that the music industry can also be pressured in various ways by pulling various levers, whether it's the FCC, whether it is different modes of distribution, whether it's interstate commerce, and finding a way to to regulate them on that basis. The bottom line is you have to make it expensive, more expensive to appeal to the prurient interest, to the base interest of the public than it is to appeal to their more noble instincts. And up until now, for the last, let's say, 100 years or so, it has been far more cost effective to appeal to the lowest, basest instincts of the population. And so, economics being what they are, you can't be surprised when the different media industries have gone in that direction and just chased the easiest, quickest dollar, and sacrificed moral and artistic merit along the way. And so I think that finding different ways to exert financial pressure is very key. But it's going to take a sustained effort, not just financially, not just legally, but institutionally. People have to actually get involved, make their voices heard, and demand the kind of content that, again, ennobles the human spirit. Um, we had some music during our launch gala, the Beach Boys. I mean, think about the feeling that you get when Pat Boone, Debbie Boone, the Beach Boys, when you hear one of their songs, it really, it just gives you that warm and fuzzy nostalgic feeling. And speaking to the baser instincts that exist in our collective subconscious is really not the way to build a strong society. And so, if folks don't want to experience a regime of overt censorship, then they're going to have to start making proactive investments in music again that ennobles the human spirit. I just had the privilege of traveling to Italy, and there's a country that for the about the size of Arizona in terms of land, and it has a tremendous proportion. It's vastly overrepresented in the number of ennobling artistic output that one can experience while traveling throughout Italy. And I think that that serves as kind of like a great example of what's possible. You go to that country and you can't turn the corner without being presented with something that makes you feel special to be human. Wow, I'm a member of the human race, and somebody who lived 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, had the talent and inspiration to create that. And I think this kind of inspiration and this kind of ethos has been sorely missing, especially in this country. And there is such an amazing and tremendous opportunity now with this new administration to really affect serious change in a positive direction in this regard. And I'm just really, really excited to be a part of it.
Absolutely. That's really something that you just said, that's something that, we created. You look back and it's like, wow, this is, someone actually had the idea to create this. Like you said, the talent to create this. Now, what are we going to look back on? I mean, come on, Bad Bunny. Oh, yay. Like that's, that's really representing the humans well here. And I think it's just really sad, honestly, when you bring it back to the divine as well, because we're not, I guess, as people, it is our purpose to serve God. It's not our purpose to serve ourselves. And what we're doing right now is serving ourselves and only ourselves, and it shows because we're creating the most depraved, disgusting art. And people in general,
Right.
I am of the belief that we are all fallen individuals, and that it's only through God that we are saved, and through Christ that we are saved, and that we actually do have something higher to direct ourselves to. And when that's lacking in individuals, you can really see it through art. And so I think that back in the day, if I should say it like that, um, it was directed towards something more than greater than self. And now it's all so self-centered, so self-directed, and it's really obvious when you have outputs like Bad Bunny, a man dressing as a demonic drag something whatever, and who has music videos, by the way, talking about, or not talking about, but showing, illustrating how he's indoctrinating the youth. Look that one up. It's amazing. Anyway, Chris, great to have you on here. Where can my audience find you?
Well, best place, of course, social media, Instagram, Chris Macchio, ChrisMacchio. That is my Instagram handle. Also on X, Chris Macchio, or just tenor.christopher.macchio on my Facebook fan page. Those are the best ways, or just christophermacchio.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, Chris.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for everything you're doing, Chloe. Really proud of you.
Thanks, Chris. All right. Thank you so much for watching this episode. Please subscribe to the Classically Chloe Show on YouTube, Rumble, and Spotify to stay up to date on the latest episode. Please also follow me at classically_Chloe on Instagram and classically Chloe on all other platforms. See you next week. God bless.